So somebody else has now come out about ImAllexx. Yes, yet another video, and yes, another update on the ImAllexx situation. It just never seems to end currently. Every single minute of every day, I'm seeing more and more stuff come out about this man, and it's just making him look like a worse and worse person. And this one isn't any better, because another woman has come out saying that he mentally abused her, and it's just horrible. Now this person is called Jess Carter. Now I'm going to need you to bear with me with a lot of this, because it's going to be very, very wordy, as a lot of these are at the minute. It's not any like video clips and stuff to show you, it's more just people writing statements and me reading them out. So yeah, just be prepared for me to be reading out quite a lot of information here. We're going to start out with her initial statement here, which is basically leading on to a statement she wrote back in 2020. Yes, that long ago. February 2020, I was in an on and off relationship with Alex, as everyone else seems to experience the first few months up to a year, or as you'd expect with a brand new relationship. I can't speak much now, as 4 years later I have suppressed these memories and don't tend to think back on that time. I had made a statement in 2020 for my own personal closure and didn't expect it to go anywhere, but just exist. I really wanted to reach out to someone, but I knew I didn't have the evidence because I deleted our messages to try and get over the breakup. I've included my original statement alongside a Facebook message between Alex and my friend during an insomnia event where he thought I wasn't in our hotel room. He left to go see Slazzo before the accusations, and I had woken up to a banging at the door, the said friend showing me this message and saying Alex was looking for me. I was in the bed next to him, he just hadn't bothered to look. When confronted, he laughed about it, and I told him to never say that about me again. While I'm thankful I'm now in a position where my current partner has helped me heal through the damage Alex caused, my heart breaks for Alice having gone through so much worse and still dealing with the consequences. She deserves nothing but peace and happiness here on out. Nothing she has done will justify his actions towards her. Now I'm going to go on to her initial statement just after their breakup. Specific names won't be mentioned, but most can assume anyway. Whoever is currently in a relationship where your partner is heavily one-sided, guilt trips you or puts you down, please get out. I know it's hard to think of wanting to leave, but I can assure you it's for the best. The start of my last relationship was everything I had wanted at the time. I was already living my best life, so things were only improving. The guy was super lovely and sweet to me, always cared and went the extra mile, but something changed not long into the relationship. It was like he was keeping things away from me, which is obvious you'd tell your partner. I mean, I would have in that situation. There came a time his ex came back into the picture, and like anyone, I felt a horrible gut feeling. When they met up, she ended up going to his flat and went out clubbing with him and some mates. All of which I had to find out through social media. Nothing for him, I'd already made it apparent it made me uncomfortable, them two being together, but his response when I wasn't happy was, I didn't think it was a big deal, and I have to be friends with her for work. Anything I'd say, I was met with an excuse. No, sorry, I'll tell you next time, or anything. So I just had to push how I felt aside and watch them on calls every night and talk all the time. Shortly afterwards, he broke up with me as he was planning on moving elsewhere, and he said the last 6 months were the worst of his life and how nothing good has happened. I was devastated and spent countless nights crying myself to sleep because at the time I genuinely loved this guy and I'd do anything for him, and it hurt a lot that I couldn't make him happy. I made one tweet during this breakup and I saw a good looking guy in the gym, and he flips out at me saying I'm a liar for telling him I'd wait for him and would only like him, and he doesn't ever want to be with me ever again. I broke down at work crying on the phone to him, trying to apologize and say how genuine I was when I said I'd happily wait for him. All I did was make a tweet about someone being attractive. Eventually he agreed to let me come and see him, and we started back up again, as he said he was sorry for getting angry because he just missed me. He never moved in the end, so I'm glad I had to experience those awful nights wondering why I wasn't good enough anymore for no reason. One night he went out and left his laptop with me. I looked through some messages, and he was a lot closer with his ex than he let on. He would tell her his problems, but to me, he didn't want to drag me down or get me involved. He'd also messaged a girl complimenting her ass, but me tweeting someone was attractive was the end of the world. I never mentioned this to him because I knew it would just cause an argument. I could never win with him. As time went on, anything that bothered me, I'd tell him, and I'd just be met with a load of messages that started with I'm too busy, I don't have time for this, I'm not happy, I've got other things to worry about, the list goes on. He would always get angry at me saying my feelings. Looking at him, he's not a scary person, but behind the scenes, he scared me when he was angry. At this point, my feelings pretty much felt invalid, and I knew I couldn't go to him about anything. I still did though. Whenever he'd upset me, I'd tell him, and was met with the same response. Countless times he'd reverse the situation and play the victim, to which I'd stop being upset and feel sympathy for him. I was always there for him with advice and help, but he was never there for me. One time he told me he was really feeling down, so I drove 3 hours in the middle of the night to see him. Yet when I told him I was down, I got met with something like, I'm working. For my 22nd, I spent the majority of my birthday done watching The Walking Dead, as he was in bed all day. But I can't be upset at that because his excuse was being depressed. I picked out flowers as a present for him, and he bought me some Jaffa cakes, which I later got told they were meant to be for the both of us. I'm not one to compare gifts, as I love to give, but I took this guy to a 5-star hotel for his 21st, and he couldn't even organise something nice for us to do on mine. There's situations where he's been pure evil, telling me he hates my friends, during an argument about how I felt uncomfortable being sat next to a male Uber driver who was touching himself at times and kept staring at me. And my friends were simply saying they wouldn't let me sit in the front period. He said he sat in the back just so he could talk to his friend, and I just became invisible. He blamed me for not telling him sooner. However, if he had paid attention to me as a person, he would have known I have social anxiety and find confrontation, especially that kind, really difficult to deal with. He told me he hates fat people, then went on to jokingly call me fat when he knew I wasn't happier with my weight. I feel lucky that my depression doesn't get in the way of making others happy. No matter how bad I get, I can always make sure others are okay. Now I know not everyone has that same mindset. He struggled with his own mental health issues. He broke up with me on Valentine's Day this year after I sent him a text saying it doesn't feel like he appreciates me / loves me anymore, and which he blames me for breaking up with him, which I didn't. He gave me excuses on why he couldn't do this anymore. Again, I'm too busy, I'm working, etc. I even booked time off just to spend it with him. Told him the dates, and he never bothered to arrange to see each other. Again, too busy for me. But he told me he wasn't going to go out for drinks with a friend. However, that translates to just going to Asda. So he had a go at me, saying I don't allow him to just go shopping with his mate. What triggered the message was him saying he was going out for drinks after saying he has no time for me. The fact I had to see his own friends with their girlfriends and seeing them make time for each other hurt like hell. His excuse for that was they do that because they aren't as passionate about their job as he is, so they waste their time. He never came to me because that took away from many days where he could have been working instead. This made me feel like I didn't deserve his time or was even worth his time. Going on from V-Day, which is Valentine's Day, I was obviously upset it was over, but I was able to manage it pretty easy at first. I'd try and talk to him, but he'd rarely respond. It wasn't until COVID hit that my own mental health crumbled more and I had to watch people die every day in April. This is when I really needed him to be around. Not that he ever was anyway. It got to a point where I was sat in my car on the verge of suicide. When I needed to speak to someone, I called him, and in the end, he turned his phone off and didn't answer because he couldn't be bothered to talk to me for days. I was having a breakdown every day and just wanted to talk to him. I still struggled to understand why he broke up with me, as the only thing he changed in his life was getting rid of me. He didn't get rid of anyone else. Apparently getting rid of me was supposed to make his life better, yet his friends were the ones who got under his skin, and they're still around to this day. Eventually he blocked my number. I would see him on social media talking to everyone and anyone, calling random girls he's never talked about before, and when I pointed out that he can talk to them but not me, he kicked off saying that's basically me trying to tell him he can't have friends. All I wanted to know was why I wasn't allowed the time of day, but this other new girl was. He'd be more than happy to talk to her about her mental state, but not mine. Anything I would bring up after the breakup, I was yet again met with, I'm depressed, I'm busy, I can do what I want, I don't need this. For someone who would constantly remind me he had depression and used it against me, he never once took my mental health state into consideration. I could have gone to a certain person about this situation, but he threatened me saying if I went to said person, I'd have no chance of ever being with him ever again. Well, now I don't want to ever be with him ever anymore. I don't see why people can't know now. The only leverage he has is now gone. This guy made me feel completely worthless, self-conscious, and gave me such a lack of trust in people that it's taken me back how much my current partner is understanding and willing to help me overcome my depression. He's literally having to deal with that damage my ex caused. There's so much to it that I could go on for a page after page, but these are the main points that stick out to me right now. No doubt if he catches wind of this, I'll get accused of lying, or he'll just shout at me like he used to. I told him he was mentally abusive, and he said, don't go throwing that around. I'd like to have full closure on our relationship, but I know he will never admit to how selfish and cruel he was, so this is all I can do. I have a lot of friends who have seen the text and heard the voice notes from him, and don't worry, they don't like you either and will back this. So like I said, it's pretty lengthy, this whole statement, but there's a lot in there. There's a lot of correlations between all these statements that have been coming out. He seems to be a very, very selfish person that only thinks about himself. Obviously with Jess, he just had no time of day for her, you know. She clearly has her own mental problems, and he just used to throw it in her face that he had more problems than her and that his work was more important. And for him to even go around saying that, you know, other creators don't take their job as seriously, that's why they hang about with their girlfriends, is a load of shite. If you really, really care about somebody, no matter what you're doing, you make time for them. Okay, you do. You know, I make videos all the time. I also work full time, yet I still make time for my fiance and my child. Always, no matter what. Even if I have to stop a video for a while, even if I have to push it back, you always make time for people that you care about. So for those of you that didn't get the time of day because ImAllexx said, I don't have the time, you know, I'm working, blah, 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 blah. Just know that that guy never cared about you because he's a piece of shit. Very self-absorbed. That is such an egotistical thing to say. Now, not only did she release this statement, she also released a little bit of text here, which I'm going to read out and show. And they're not very nice, as you can kind of guess, you know, with all this stuff that's been coming out about Alex, nothing's been very nice. It's all been pretty nasty. It's just very spiteful texts. Yo, where's Jess? For fuck's sake. I am very angry. At bar. I'm going to kick her head in. Now I'm locked out. Might kill her. Might actually kill her. So not only is he threatening to beat her up, he's also threatening to kill her. Now, some people could say, oh, this is just like a joke being taken out of hand. But if we look at all the other stuff that's come out with Alice's situation, there's a lot of similarities there.
I'm gonna fucking bash your fucking head against the wall with a brick if you don't shut the fuck up.
This man has an anger issue, okay? And is very, very unstable. He shouldn't be around people. He shouldn't have a platform anymore. Simple as that. He is disgusting, and it actually upsets me that I even gave this guy the time of day watching his content. Genuinely, I enjoyed some of these videos, and for some reason, in my head, I thought I would like to work with this man at some point, you know, because we do similar content. But now, if that opportunity ever arose, I would turn it down. Simply because the guy is a piece of shit, and I don't think anybody should work with him. Obviously, there's still going to be people out there that are waiting on his side of the story. I still am waiting on his side of the story, but I don't think it's going to cover any of this. I think it's just going to be an apology, and then he's just going to fade away. Or he just might not say anything and just leave. Maybe that'll be for the best. If you enjoyed it, remember to like, comment, subscribe. We're nearly at 2,000 subs now, so pushing it. And I will keep updating you guys with the ImAllexx stuff, so don't worry about that. And I'll see you guys in the next one. See you later.